Look at that rain out there now. But it's raining harder in the American spiritual atmosphere in terms of America's political, military standing or what's going on in Afghanistan. It's only going to get worse as the days go by of what we've seen now with the unmitigated ignorance of General Lloyd Austin, who is now Secretary of Defense, who advised Joe Forbidden My Time Biden to pull out of Afghanistan and to do it quickly without making any kinds of plans or schemes whatsoever to get the 100,000 people, 15,000 or so of Americans and 85,000 to 200,000 people that aided America over the past 20 years. No plan, there was not a plan on the table to put them out. And it was this man, Lloyd Austin. He's hiding now. He's hiding. You haven't heard him say that. But this is the problem. This man, and now Joe Forbidden Biden My Time, he's also a problem, as you very well know. The man just doesn't know which end is up. But it's this boy, Lloyd Austin, that gave the plan, told Secretary of Defense, who told Biden, pull out, do it quickly, get all the troops out without making any provision whatsoever to get the other 100,000 people. And we've seen a stampede. How many people have died through stampede of trying to ride those C-714s from the outside? It is a scream that America has such blatant foolishness at the head of the Secretary of Defense and this person known as Lloyd Austin. I'm going to let you listen to some of what other world leaders are saying about this unbelievable fiasco that's going on in Afghanistan. Mr. Engineer, please.
CNN has also learned top Washington officials were in fact warned. Sources within the State Department telling my colleagues that nearly 24 diplomats in Kabul sent a classified cable to the State Department in mid-July urging fast action because they feared a potential catastrophe in Afghanistan. CNN's Kylie Atwood is live at the State Department with these details. Kylie, what is the latest you're hearing about this?
Yeah, well, Kate, this is significant because what this demonstrates is that these diplomats who were at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul were seeing that the State Department needed to be doing more proactively to prepare for what they saw was going to be the eventual fall of the Afghan government. And they wanted more to be done to get these Afghans processed and evacuated out of the country before a crisis unfolded like we're seeing right now. Now, the Deputy National Security Advisor addressed this memo when he spoke with Wolf Blitzer last night. And he said that, yes, these diplomats foresaw that the Afghan government was going to fall, but they didn't see that it was going to happen as rapidly as it did. They were essentially in the same boat as everyone else. He also said that some of the things that they proposed that the administration do were actually done. But I'm also told that there are things that were in this memo that weren't done quickly enough, such as setting up a biometric enrollment program for these Afghans so that when it's time to get them out of the country, you've got this list and you can get them out quickly. Now, the State Department spokesperson is saying, yes, the State Department does value internal dissent. The Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, reviews all of these dissent memos, and he also signs off on the response. But this is significant that there was this dissent memo at all, because diplomats don't do this as a first case scenario. They do this as a last ditch effort to tell the secretary that things aren't going well, that their voices aren't being heard. And rest assured that those on Capitol Hill, bipartisan group of folks who are calling for an investigation here, are going to want to see this memo and exactly what was done and what wasn't done that they proposed.
Let me talk to you for just a moment, my friends. A lot of people are going to see this in the wrong light. They're going to see it in terms of skin color or some sort of heritage. But the debacle we have going on, the fiasco, the tragedy, the travesty, the horrendous, if you will, evacuation failure that's going on in Afghanistan now. Now, of course, it was Joe Biden who said that we're going to move the troops out when there were only 2,500 troops left in Afghanistan. But what needs to be uncovered here, if we're going to get to the bottom of this, because there's going to be a lot of deaths. There are going to be many more, if you will, terrorist attacks against America. America has lost her prestige globally because of the foolhardiness and the way America is now treating her allies. We have lost a lot of prestige globally. But the man that needs to be blamed for this is the Secretary of Defense, General Lloyd Austin. He's the one, and he's hiding, and they're hiding him. And Biden is hiding him because he knows Lloyd Austin told Biden to pull out quickly, pull all the troops out. Lloyd, who's the Secretary of Defense, and it would be anybody. If in any military operation, when America does any kind of military movement, it is the Secretary of Defense that advises Biden. Biden is the president. He's not Secretary of Defense. It was Lloyd Austin that created this horrendous miscalculation, this horrendous, if you will, misstep in war. It was and battle. It was this Lloyd Austin boy, and they're hiding him. He came out a couple of times behind Biden and Camelback ain't Black Harris, but they're hiding him. And the media is not going after him either. CNN knows, MSNBC knows, even Fox knows. New York Times, the Washington Post, they know that it was Lloyd Austin that has created this world, if you will, catastrophe. This immense human suffering was created by this man, Lloyd Austin. Washington Post and New York Times, they know that. Now, Biden is trying to take the heat by keeping a stiff upper lip, by always referring back to the fact that we needed to get out. Yeah, we needed to get out, but we needed to make plans to get out. And that was at the feet of the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. And they're hiding him. It's one thing that he has created this death, this carnage, this suffering, this untold, this loss of world standing in America, by America to the world. It's this Lloyd Austin boy that has created that. But it's one thing that he has done that, and people are going to die. We're going to see great terrorist organizations revisited. We're going to see things like we've never seen before. But now what is worse, to compound it, is that they're covering up this mistake by Lloyd Austin. They won't let you know. And not only is the Biden administration in on the covering up of this mistake, but the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Fox News, the MSC, the CNN, the ABC, they are in on it. They know, and they will not bring you the truth. It's Lloyd Austin that's created this debacle. It's Lloyd Austin that's created this catastrophe. It's Lloyd Austin, and he needs to be brought up on charges of not knowing which end is up. How can you say you only had 2,500 troops there, and they were keeping the peace? Not only that, my friend, but I know we were already out of Afghanistan. Now listen to me very carefully. You need to hear this. We were already out of Afghanistan with only 2,500 troops left, and there was peace and calm in the nation. We didn't need to take those 2,500 troops out. Back in 1953 or 54, when we had the armistice and we had the 38th parallel, the treaty with North Korea, we left over 30,000 troops to guard the 38th parallel. And they're still there as of this day, some 70 years later, 60 years later. So 2,500 troops could have stayed in Afghanistan for the rest of the world's time. There's no need to move them. Especially, why are you going to leave when we have put literally billions of dollars of tanks, of planes, of helicopters, of military apparatus, and built roads and highways and schools and embassies? Why are you going to take the 2,500 people out anyway? Okay, you're going to do it, then you did it. What I want to say to you now, and America, wake up. You need to make sure that there's pressure put on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Washington Post, New York Times to report that this great military mistake was made by Lloyd Austin. They're hiding him. And they're doing it because, in many ways, out of, I suppose, a racist ideology. They are afraid to put him out there as the man who made the military decision. They're afraid to put him out there as the man. Listen, when Westmoreland was running the operation in Vietnam, when Patton was running the operation in Europe, in Dunkirk, and in France, and in Germany, now we've got Lloyd Austin, who's made the biggest military blunder in American history. This military blunder by Lloyd, and it needs to be brought out. They're afraid to do it. And not only the Biden administration taking the heat, it won't bring you the truth, but you got to look at the media as well that refuses to bring this truth. The truth needs to be told. Lloyd Austin is causing this suffering. You're going to take people out. You got 15,000 Americans that need to get out. You got another 100,000 Americans that aided the Americans over the past 20 years as interpreters, as whatever contractors. They need to get out also. Taliban going to kill them. You know they're going to do it. Make a plan to get them out first. Get the women and children out of Afghanistan before you pull the troops out. Lord also said, pull the troops out first. Then how you going to get everybody else out? There was no path. There was no plan. There was no plan to even bring 10,000 people out of Afghanistan. We heard the other day that they brought some of them to Qatar, and Qatar could take no more. And they were scrounging around, begging people around the nations around the world, can you take? Because there had been nothing put in place for other nations to take these refugees or to take these people that need to be brought out of Afghanistan. They had no place to put them. They had no planes. They had no military plane. They had no scheduled flying route. They had nothing. This cannot stand. You can't let a military blunder like this done by Lloyd Austin go unrevealed simply because he's a black man. You can't do it. It's wrong. It's an insult. It's an insult to all of humanity. This man he is the Secretary of Defense. He is the one that advised Biden and the national security officers, take the troops out now. Lloyd Austin. You need to be, this truth, and not just, I can understand Biden not wanting to expose the weakness in Lloyd Austin. But you got to realize now, if the media is covering, even Fox News is covering up, they know it, but they won't bring it out because they're afraid of being called a racist. They're afraid if they point out this truth, they're going to be called a racist. My friends, we are looking at wars and withdrawal rumors of wars. And finally, let me just say this as well. America, first of all, has suffered a defeat. Okay, that's one thing. You had to leave Afghanistan because you couldn't control it. You could not make those Afghani people go democracy. They weren't never going to do it. They just weren't going to buy it. And let me tell you why. The main reason why the Afghani people, even the marginal ones religiously, would not trade their customs, their traditions, or their religious ideologies for the American lifestyle is because Christianity ain't worth 2 cents around the world. Nobody with any kind of religious structure, false or real, believe in Christians. Not American Christians, not them, not these Christians that believe in man marrying man and woman marrying woman and eating all that pork all the time and not keeping the Sabbath. There ain't no way Afghanistan was going to ever bow down to American democracy, because based on American democracy, you got to eat pork, you got to let man marry man and woman marry woman, you got to have women in the army having their monthly periods while in a foxhole. You can't do it. And these Afghanistan men were never going to go for that. They were never going to go for pork eaters. They were never going to go for people that don't keep the Sabbath. The Afghan people, the Muslims, they keep the Sabbath. Christians around the world, you can't get 2 cents for the ideology. You can't get two people in Afghanistan to follow Christian ideology or the democracy based on the fact they're pork eaters. They're Sabbath breakers, and they let man marry man. There was no way Afghanistan, you could put $10 trillion in Afghanistan. Those people are never going to bow down. It's not the money. It's not the equipment. It is the principle. And most people around the world see Christians in America as the most debauchery, most godless people you're going to find anywhere on the planet. The vilest lawbreakers you're going to find anywhere at any time. That's why. And now you got this guy, Lloyd Austin, out there. Don't know which end is up. And Joe Biden went for it. And now America has got not only egg on her face, but she's got squat on her face as well. It's an absolute shame. And somebody needs to say something. Somebody needs to stand up and say, wait a minute, y'all need to stop your racism, and you're afraid to call out the spade. You're afraid to call a spade a spade. No, this thing stinks to high heaven. And we're not going to see the end of it. Not to Jesus. I can tell you this right now. You're not going to see the end of this till Jesus comes back. If there's anything you need to pray for, don't pray for the reconstitution of these Afghanistans or restructuring of the military, voting in a new president and getting a new Secretary of Defense. You need to pray that Jesus comes back, because all hell has broken loose in the land at the end of the world called Afghanistan. And me, I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manning Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week, producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. If you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart in what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years to watch people around us who have made the commitment to join with our ministry and church and to financially support it. And by the way, I want to give another shout out to Brother Jesse Munoz out there in San Bernardino, along with Goldfinger, who is just extraordinary giver, and others that do extraordinary giving to our ministry. My question is to you, if you are a 3-year veteran or older, why haven't you joined? Why haven't you committed? And I suppose some of the reasons would say, well, Pastor, man, I belong to another church. And why? How could you, after 3 years, of hear me teach about the Sabbath, about righteousness, about the tribulation, and listen to me faithfully as you do, and still go sit up in another pastor's face? How could you be? It's like a woman sleeping with 2 men. You know, one she likes during the week and the other she likes on the weekend. It's hypocritical. How could you do that? I mean, essentially, you started 3 months ago. I can understand. Well, it may take you some time to evaluate. It may take you some time to look at me, to discover, who I am. You say, well, Pastor, that's not that I don't belong to another church or ministry. I'm with you. But there's some things you say I like, and there's some things you say I don't like. Why? Why is it that you've made a decision that there's some things that you don't like are stronger than the things that you do like? I am not a psychiatrist, but I am an analyst. And I have to tell you, I analyze the world, understanding. But the understanding and wisdom tells me this, that if there are things that a person such as myself that I am saying, there is no room to disagree with what I am saying unless your purpose is to find something to disagree with. Let's say, for instance, you say, well, I like the fact that you talk about Obama, but I don't like the fact that you talk about Trump. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those, right? Well, the purpose, it isn't that you just like what I say about Obama, but don't like what I say about Trump. What it is that you are looking for a reason to support Trump. It isn't that you don't like it. It's just that you don't like the fact that I'm saying something about it. It isn't that what I'm saying is wrong. Let me put it that way. It isn't what I'm saying is wrong or indifferent. You know it's right. But you've lived your life, or you've come up, or you've been raised with a doctrine that you can really live in a false reality. That's where you are. You've been raised in a doctrine that you can live in a false reality. That is to say, you can like the truth about Obama, but you don't like the truth about Trump. And it's the same truth. It's the same truth. There's no difference. But because you have been indoctrinated to live in a false reality, you are really a person who needs psychological debriefing. But trust me, there are zillions of people around the world who live that way. There are people who know what I'm saying about Trump or Obama is right. They know it. But they choose to ignore it based on the fact that they find a reality that isn't true, and they've settled in there. Say, well, that's one of the reasons why I've not made a commitment, because, I don't like the fact, I wish you would support what I support. But the truth of the matter is, then why do you come? You've given 3 years or more of your life to listen to me? 3 years of your life to listen to me? And you're not tired of listening to me yet? And you've given 3 years of your life, and over the past 3 years, your life has been greatly upgraded. You've learned, you've been educated, you've been enlightened. And let me say this to you. If you make the commitment, say, well, Pastor, I'm joining with you, and I'm going to support, I'm going to do the tithe and offering, I'm going to do the first fruit, I'm going to keep the Sabbath, your life is going to soar. Now listen to me very carefully. Now, I'm not going to leave you alone after this. Listen to me very carefully. You come as often as you come over the past 3 years because you're being helped. You're being educated. You're being enlightened, right? Right. But the thing that you like, whether you say, well, I like what you say about Obama, but I don't like what you say about Trump. You do the same thing with the Word of God, such as you like the things I say, the teachings that I say, the way I explain the Bible, the way I break it all down and make it clear. But when it comes to things like money or tithing and offering or the Sabbath, well, that is also true, but because of your false reality, because you really need a psychological debriefing, because of your false reality, you choose not to believe the tithe or the first fruit or the Sabbath. Now, it isn't that it isn't true. It's as true with all the other things I've said. But you live in a false reality where you try to ignore the truth about the tithe, and so you don't do it. But everything else I say is good to go. Everything I ever say is good to go, good enough to share with your friends. It makes you laugh. It educates you. It enlightens you. But the tithe, well, and the full commitment to the ministry, well, the first fruit offerings, well, the Sabbath, that's all true as well. But you have chosen, and you've been raised and indoctrinated to have a dual reality, which is dangerous. Jesus said this, and I'll leave you. He said, I would rather you be either hot or cold, but not lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You have a dual reality. He said, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. I would rather you be completely stomped down against Pastor Manny, trying to take him down. Be fully against him. Be against him with all of your strength. Or be fully for him with all of your strength. But don't be in the middle, somewhere lukewarm. You're better than to be spit out of the mouth of Jesus if you're lukewarm. So what's it going to be? You're going to make the commitment and grow and be even better blessed, or you're going to continue to walk in the lukewarm spit of the mouth of the Savior. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.